And good morning once again, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Living Hope Today. Today we find ourselves turning a page, so to speak, in Genesis. We're going into chapter 37. We're about to discover how God uses Jacob's favorite son, Joseph. You know, it'll start out so innocently, and Joseph really doesn't understand the impact of what he's telling his brothers, but bad things are going to happen to Joseph. I mean, really hard things are going to happen to Joseph as we get from here to the end of the book. And we'll talk about them as we get to them, but I just need you to understand that even in the midst of the pain and the suffering that Joseph has to go through, we see that God is building him up into a man of God, into a powerful man of God. God will eventually use Joseph to save the whole nation Israel. It's profound. Nonetheless, we start here today in chapter 37. Here we go. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. And what we need to just focus on, again, 36, remember chapter 36? Esau is, he's got a bunch of descendants and he's living in Edom. Well, God didn't promise to give his people Edom. God promised to give his people Canaan land. And so Jacob is right in the middle of where he is supposed to be. All right? And the text wants to refocus us on that very truth, that we're right back in the heart of where God has made his promise. All right, this is the account of Jacob. I find this kind of interesting. Here it is, 37:2. The account of Jacob is about to be described to us. But now what do? We start talking about Joseph. It's interesting how the text brings us to the fact that God is leading Jacob even through the turmoil of Joseph. Here we go. Joseph, a young man of 17. Okay, what does that tell us? Maybe a little bit naive about how the world works. You remember, before we go forward, Joseph comes from who? He's Rachel's firstborn. Okay, Jacob has had all these sons. All right, Leah's had 6 of the sons. Zilpah, the maidservant, had a couple. Bilhah had a couple. Rachel finally comes along, bringing up the rear with Joseph, and then she dies, giving birth to Benjamin. Remember? Okay, so we know that Joseph has a special place in Jacob's heart. Why? Because Joseph is the son born to the wife that he loved the most, Rachel. Okay, sorry, little dovetail there. Well, here we go. Young man of 17, what's he doing? He's tending flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah, that was Rachel's maidservant, and the sons of Zilpah, that was Leah's maidservant, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. And there's nothing like getting ratted out by your little brother, right? It doesn't really even tell us what he told him, what he told his dad about what his brothers were doing. He just came in and complained about his brothers. This is not the way to pursue family unity, okay? So first thing we find out about Joseph is he's willing to tell the truth about his brothers. And now the text brings us to the fact I just mentioned. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons. And we just talked about why. Because he had been born to him in his old age. All right, that's one thing, sure. But the other thing to keep in mind, he was born to Rachel. That's really important, all right? And so what does Jacob do? He made him a richly ornamented robe. Okay, so now we've got Joseph ratting out the brothers, and now he's showing up in a very fancy outfit that his dad has given him. His dad didn't give it to anybody else in the family, just to Joseph. That again is a recipe for strife in the family. Well, here we go. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more, all right, Dad always loved you best. Oh, that's trouble. He loved him more than any of them. What do they do in response? they were mature and they learned how to get along with their little brother. No, wait, they hated him and they couldn't speak a kind word to him. Okay, Joseph is ostracized from the brotherhood. Why? Because he's the father's favorite. Oh, man. And then the story even gets worse than that. Verse 5, Joseph had a dream. Okay, here we go. When he told it to his brothers, what happens? They hated him all the more. Okay, so Dad likes you best. You're ratting us out to Dad when we're not doing the right thing. Dad gives you the good coat that he made special for you. He didn't give us anything. And now you're telling us a dream that's against us. Well, he says it to him. Listen, he said to them, listen to this dream I had. Here it comes, verse 7. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. Wow, you guys, I dreamt this dream. Okay, I already told Dad you guys are rotten, and Dad likes me best, and Dad gave me that coat, and now I'm going to tell you about my dream. You guys are bowing down to me. Oh man, the brothers don't like that. Here it comes. His brothers said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? Now remember, this is the little brother coming to them with this dream. And what does the text keep bringing us back to? Anytime you're reading a narrative story, the author can put in any detail he wants, right? The sky was blue, we had fish for dinner. I mean, whatever the author wants to put in there, that's what they want to emphasize as they tell us the story. What does this author keep telling us over and over? They hated him. They hated him all the more because of his dream, because what he said. Okay, so Joseph's a dreamer. His brothers hate his guts for multiple reasons. All right, well, it even gets worse. Look at this, verse 9. Then he had another dream. No. And he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream. And this time, the sun and moon and 11 stars. Okay, wait a minute, 11 stars. Oh, hey, I got 11 brothers standing right here listening to this. It probably means you guys. The moon, the sun and moon and 11 stars were doing what? They were bowing down to me. Okay, now who's the sun and moon in this story? Well, maybe he's even referring to his parents. Well, his mom, Rachel, is dead, but maybe he's referring to somebody over him. In the end, the point is the same. Hey, all you brothers, you bow down to me. You bow down to me in the sheaf dream, now you bow down to me in the star dream. And let me make sure I tell you about it. When he told his father, so Joseph just can't keep his mouth shut, he's got to go home and tell his dad too. He told his father as well as his brothers. His father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? Joseph, who do you think you are? And again, Joseph's talking to his father, the patriarch, but please remember, this is exactly what happens. By the time we get to chapter 50 in the book of Genesis, all these people have come and bowed down to Joseph, and we'll pursue that story as the text brings us to it. But God's giving Joseph these dreams, and these dreams aren't just out of nowhere. These dreams are based in what God will do as time passes. And if Joseph understood how much he was going to suffer to make these dreams a reality, he probably would have kept his mouth shut. But he's 17. He's just telling them what happened. Why should they be mad at me? I'm just telling them the truth. Okay, his brothers were what? They were jealous of him. So the text doesn't tell us how much they hated him in the beginning, but it does tell us they're motivated by jealousy. And what does his father do? he just files this away. I don't know exactly what that means. I file away that my favorite son is naive and willing to upset his brothers because he's had a dream or two. I don't know what Jacob is filing away. Maybe the fact that he's been told he'll bow down to Joseph someday. But I just want to pursue, before I leave you today, this idea of dreams, especially in Genesis. Okay, listen. Abimelech, remember when Abraham and Sarah were dealing with Abimelech? Abraham told him that Sarah was his sister. God alerted Abimelech to the problem of taking Sarah for himself in a dream in chapter 20, verse 3. Jacob, remember, had a dream on the way to Haran as he was fleeing Esau. He saw the stairway with the angels climbing up and descending from heaven. That was chapter 28. Jacob's flocks were growing in another dream he had, and God told him he needed to go back home in chapter 31. Laban has a dream. He's warned not to harass Jacob in 31:14. Joseph has two dreams that we just looked at, sheaves and stars. They're all bowing down to him, all right? And as we pursue this in the book, Pharaoh has a cupbearer and a baker that have a dream in chapter 40. Pharaoh has two dreams himself about the famine that's coming in chapter 41. Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream in 41. I just want you to think about this. We're told in the New Testament, this is actually a quote from the prophet Joel. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, and your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Just remember that God is alive and well. He communicates to his own, and he has this habit of helping us understand what he's going to do before he does it. Particularly in Bible times, he's continually showing them what's going to happen, or moving people around, or changing circumstances through people's dreams. And as we pursue the text tomorrow, we'll see that Joseph's circumstances are about to be drastically changed. Despite all the problems, God still has him. God's still working out his plan through him, and God's still going to show his mercy and his love and his grace to Joseph's whole family through the suffering that Joseph endures. We'll pursue that next time, church. God bless you. Serve him well today.